Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am joined by my good friend Morgan Silva. Morgan, how you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm having a lot of fun with this. So today, Morgan and I, you guys will remember Morgan. She was from My Special Boy. We did an episode together on that. She is also an amazing designer at designing websites. So if anybody needs anything, I have all her links down here in the description. She does amazing work, and you will soon be seeing some of the work that she has done for me. So I'm super excited about that. So how you doing, Morgan? How's life treating you?
We're getting a snowstorm today, and into probably by the time they see this, it already would have happened. But so I'm not very excited about that. But you know, whatever, it's fun.
We're getting it here too. I've only got about 2 inches right now, but
that's enough.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not a big fan. So unlike the last time me and Morgan hung out, today we will not be talking about our first horror movie. Morgan and I are going to be ranking the Purge franchise. Now, before we do this, I want to let everybody know there are spoilers ahead. If you have not seen these movies, please watch them on home media or streaming services where available. And also, we will not be doing the Purge TV series as part of this. Even though I loved the Purge TV series, I thought it was absolutely amazing. That will not be counted. We are only doing the feature films. And at this point, there are 4. So, Morgan, would you like to start with your number 4, or would you like me to start?
Sure. So number 4 is like the worst. Sorry. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So let's just also, I'm going to put in my own disclaimer that I'm going to contradict myself, because some things that I like in some movies, I hate being present in other movies. You know what I mean? Like, especially with this whole franchise, I mean, it's very politically, there's a lot of political undertones and overtones, I guess. So you'll see, but I just wanted to disclaim that. So
I'm with you. Sometimes things have been done to death. So if I've seen it in one, because I'm with you, there's a certain thing that happens that I'm the same way. So I completely agree with that.
I love that. Okay, great. And guys, we didn't even talk about this before. So this is like,
I don't know her list. She doesn't know mine. I love it when it's more genuine. So I'm very, I'm excited that you guys already hear her list. I've been texting her like, I think I'm going to surprise you.
I know you said that. I was like, oh God. Okay. So my worst one, my number 4 is the original Purge.
Ooh, okay.
Yep. So do I explain now? Is this like what I'm
yeah, go ahead.
Now? Okay. So I have some notes here, guys, because I'm very passionate about this. So, I think that maybe if I had watched the movie initially, or after watching the movie, like the first time I ever watched it, I was like, oh, this is a good movie, whatever. Didn't think much of it, But after watching all of them, in retrospect, it's definitely my least favorite. Why? Because the other ones, are just better. I just find them more enjoyable. I think that with franchises, in general, something can either happen with the first movie. Either it's the best or it's the worst, and they only get better. Like they learn and they just get better in general. That's what I found in my opinions. And I think that, so the pros of this movie, like it's a revolutionary idea. It was so like creative. I'm like, oh, cool. Like we haven't really seen this before. Cool. Like I like it, especially me. I love politics. My friends know I love politics, and, the sociological conversations, I love them. But, so I think that's what attracted me to this movie. But then, when you're kind of looking back, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but if you're saying the Purge and everything that comes with the Purge, right? Why the hell are we sticking with the house?
Right.
I mean, what's that? American Horror Story. My favorite one was when they were in the house. So that's what I mean. I kind of contradict myself, but I feel like in a world like this, where you create this awesome storyline and we're staying at home.
See, the only thing I can say about that is the fact that if that was me, that I might do the same thing, just because I have kids. So I'd be scared of having my kids out there and what could happen to them. But if this world was real, unlike the father in the first one, I would have gotten the top-notch security system for my house. And he even says it in there. He's like, this is more for aesthetic reasons. It's not really for, So that's where I can agree with you on that.
Yeah. So that's all. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, my number 4, yours was Purge Part 1. Mine was the first Purge, the last one, number 4. Now, look, the positives to this movie to me, I love Nia and Dimitri. I think that they are awesome, and the route that they take coming back together, I think is really cool. I love every time you see a Klansman get killed. I think it's awesome. The scene in the apartment complex when Dimitri is in the stairwell and he's fighting those guys that come out in the black face masks. I loved anytime I get to see a Nazi or a KKK member killed. That is awesome. That excites me. There's nothing I hate more than hatred, as much of an oxymoron as that is. And there were some interesting kills in this movie. Now, when we talk about the negatives of the first Purge, to me, Isaiah is one of the lamest characters in the whole franchise. I'm not a fan of him. Skeletor is another one that I think is just super lame. He's one of those guys to me that is just a throw-in character for you to hate to watch get killed. That's all Skeletor was to me. A scene maybe because I just rewatched all 4 of these movies, and the KKK shooting at the black church, it reminded me a lot of Charleston. So that really kind of bummed me out on a rewatch. And I don't think the political front on this one is done as well, because obviously it's the first time they're secluded it to Staten Island, and the political part of it to me wasn't done as well as some of the other films in this franchise. So that's why I think I ranked it so low. A lot of it was just like thrown in characters for thrown in reasons. How at the beginning, Dimitri's this gang leader and everybody loves and respects him. And he's like, we're not going to take place in this purge. And yet some of his gang are like, fuck that. We're going to do it anyway. For a gang like that, that seems really unrealistic to me, that these guys that love and respect this man that pretty much runs the city are going to be like, oh, fuck it. We're just going to go kill a bunch of people and he'll never know. To me, that was really far-fetched, but I do love Dimitri and Nia. Naya. Her name is Naya. I'm sorry. Naya. Naya is she's such a badass chick, and I think that she was a lot of, and just her telling, like, going to Dimitri, like, keep my brother out of this, and him like, okay, and they're like, well, let's get back together, and he's like, well, the purge, and she's like, no, fuck you, I got my own, I went my way, you went yours. So I do like her independence in the movie. It's always fun to see a strong woman, and you see a lot of that in horror movies, a lot of strong final girls, a lot of strong empowered women. So there were positives to it, but to me there were definitely more negatives than there were positives in the first Purge. So yours is Purge 1, mine is Part 4, the first Purge. So I'm going to keep it on me for a second on my number 3. We'll bounce back and forth. So my number 3 is the Purge, the first one. A lot of what you said, I completely agree with. The only positives to this movie were it started a franchise that is a whole lot of fun. I love the masks in the movie. I thought that those really made an impact. I love Charlie, the son. I think he's great. And I love a scene that I love that I don't think it's a whole lot of credit is the boyfriend is like, I just want to come and talk to your dad on Purge night because he can't throw me out because it's dangerous. And then he goes and has a firefight with the dad just to try to win the girl over. But what bummed me out as a father is once the boyfriend gets shot, she goes to protect him. I'm like, hey, he shot your dad first. But you were talking about the negatives to this movie. It's very slow moving. In comparison to the rest of the franchise, there's a lot of boring deaths. I don't like how, and again, maybe this is the parent in me. And when I put myself in a movie, or when I watch a movie, I like to put myself in it. And if the neighbors had come to try to kill my family, I would not just sit around the table having a meeting until the morning to let them go free. That's not what I would have absolutely killed every single one of them. The last thing I want to say about the first one before we bounce to your number 3, I love the stranger. I think that without him, this movie does not take off the way it did. I think he's amazing. We'll talk more about him here in a little bit. And even though he was a complete fucking douche, the lead purger, the kid with the long hair that's like, this is our God-given right, Stanton's when he's standing at the front porch. I love that character just because I hate that character so much. He's one of those snobby kids that like you would see in college that would just be like, oh, I bet you drive a Ford. Like that's what he reminds me of, like that snobby kid that you would not want to be around. So if you can pull off me hating you in a film, you've done your job. So I got to give credit to him. I love the mask he wears and how he pulls it off, and his face is still just as snobby as you would absolutely imagine it being. So for me, number 3 is the Purge. So I want to bounce it over to your number 3.
So yeah, my number 3 is the Purge election year.
Okay.
Now, the reason why I don't like this one, I think like everything about this movie felt like a force to me. I would have put it as my least favorite, the worst one for me. Except I don't know. I feel like there was more content like in this one to kind of like, whatever, but whatever. This one is, I don't like this one for the same reason that you didn't like the first Purge, because I don't think that it was done very well, like the political over and undertones in this movie. I think that there's a couple of storylines in this that kind of get me like, all right, like, okay, like where are we at? Like, let's stick to something. That kind of bothered me. And then this is so stupid, but I can't help it. That the main woman in this, she was in Santa Claus. And I can't.
She was the mom, right?
She was the mom. So I can't watch her. I cannot watch her in this movie. I'm like, all right, Mrs. Claus, get the hell out of here. Like, I can't watch this shit. I can't. This is my problem as a viewer. I hate that I'm like this, but I can't be like, all right, she's this in this movie and he's that in that movie. They're the same person for me. Like, I can't separate it. So, yeah, I didn't like this one. I think it was really forced, and also it came out in 2016. Yeah. Listen, I know that film and everything and pop culture always is there's a mirror of what's going on and simultaneously they kind of bounce off of each other. But this is a force. Like, how are you gonna release an election year? It was kind of like when they did that with American Horror Story. I keep going back to that, but all right, like, we get it. We're already living in American Horror Story. I don't need you to put it into my media. Like, I don't need more of this shit. So
sure,
that's what bothers me. But
no, and that's fair. So your number 3 is the Purge election year, which was the third in the franchise. So let's go to your number 2. Your number 2 would be.
Okay, this was so difficult for me to pick between my 2 and my 1, but I ultimately chose what I chose. The Purge Anarchy is my second favorite one. Okay. This one, like, I feel like they learned from the first one. They probably had some little group meetings about focus groups about like, all right, what sucked, what was great. And they just killed it for me on this one. Like it was on the streets. Like it was crazy. And I mean, like, I don't know how, nitty gritty we're going to get into details, but like Leo was just so amazing. Like, just so amazing. Like, I just love this entire one. I just love this one. Like this one, I know that your worst one was the first Purge, but that's obviously what we're not going to talk about it right now, but that was my favorite one. But I don't know. This one was so good. I don't know. There's like, I was writing down some of my favorite kills from each one. This one, I had to narrow it down to 3 because I loved it that much. And as you guys know, in my previous video with my friend here, I was like, I don't really like kills, but this is a movie that kind of got me hyped with the kills. I'm not going to lie. Got me a little hyped.
Can you tell me what the kills were?
Okay. So, of course I can. So there's that scene, and it's in case anyone cares to look, it's 51 minutes in, so go check it out. It's when Leo just saved Eva and Callie. Is that how you say their name? I'm so bad. Like, you're lucky I know my own name. Just saves them, and like he kills like the guys that are like kind of like taking them, whatever. And then it's like the whole group of them, and then they're kind of walking along, and he grabs a purger, and he just like chokes him. Yeah. Oh my God. And everybody, and then the cut goes to everybody just being like, it's not comedy, but it was as close as you can get to like a comedic relief.
Well, you need a moment of reprieve, and for a movie that's full of firefight, for him to just grab a guy and choke him like that, I get what you're saying completely.
And he's hot, so I was like,
he is totally hot.
He's badass. I was like, wow. I would link on to him if there was a Purge. Like, where's Leo? Like, I need it. Right. Where's he at? Amazing. Oh, or or my second runner up in terms of kills is when okay, this name is fucking stupid. Like this, some of the names in this, I'm like, oh, you're so annoying. But when Big Daddy is like about to kill Leo, and he's like explaining, he's like explaining the whole thing, and then it's like Warren kills him, and I'm like, whoa, this is so great. I mean, we kind of could have, we knew, like, but it was still just so like, it was
definitely fulfilling to see.
Yeah, so
that's kind of like Leo coming full circle, you know, like he forgave him after everything he had seen.
What a man our Leo is. He was redeemed. It was so great. So great. Yeah, so that was mine. That was like, oh, my favorite. Love that one.
And then you had one more kill?
I'm gonna leave it at that. We'll tie back into it, but I'm gonna leave it at that because those are just my top two. Ugh.
Okay. Well, now I'm going to talk about my number 2, which is the Purge election year is my number 2. Now, here's what I like about it. Bringing back the stranger, Dante Bishop. Dante had a bigger role in this one than he had in the previous 2 films. Leo's back in this one, and he's protecting, I think Claire is her name.
Oh my God, I'm just like so many names. Yeah. I mean, so many names, but okay, go ahead.
You got Joe Dixon, who runs the grocery store, who was Bubba Gump in Forrest Gump. God, so you got him. And then more dead Nazis. You get a lot of dead Nazis in this movie. And I actually, here's where you and I are different. I actually really enjoyed the political part of this movie because this is the first time that they allow government officials to be killed. So they really focus around that. You hadn't had that before in the Purge. So this is the first time where they're like, if you don't like a political candidate, you can kill him, which was obviously so they could kill, I want to say Claire. If I'm saying that wrong, guys, I'm so sorry, but she was running for office.
Yeah.
And the women in the triage van, the one chick was from Get Out. You know, she's amazing. I loved watching her. And we were talking about cool deaths. In this one, there's a scene where they're in the triage van and they're driving and they look down an alley and you see the guillotine chop the dude's head off. And I absolutely I'm a huge guillotine fan. So watching that happen was super awesome. Now the negatives to this movie, there's this weird scene, and I don't know why it bothers me so bad, but it's Minister Jones and Norman. And he's stabbing the guy as a sacrifice when they're in the church. And the minister and him are like touching each other. And like that scene is just so out of place and it's so odd and it's so weird.
I think that entire can you see me?
Yeah, you went out for a second there, but you're back.
Okay. I don't know what just happened. I mean, hot take to go off of that. I think that the whole like church thing was just weird in general. Like I didn't really like anything about that, but continue. Yeah.
And then seeing Dante die, like I get it, but he was such an amazing character. So to see him die was really upsetting. And then obviously Joe's death was really weird to me because he died. And when he was dying, he looked just like he did in Forrest Gump. So it totally took me back to watching that. Like all I seen was him like, I want to go home. Like that's all I seen when I watched him dying. And this, like that totally.
Oh my God.
Then, I don't like, here's another thing that really, really bothered me. Like Joe's up on the rooftop and his buddy's with him and they shoot the little girl in the ear because she's like, oh, we're going to steal a candy bar and burn down your grocery store. So they shoot her ear off, like literally shoot this little girl's ear off. And then she comes back a couple hours later. Like, come on, man. There's no way in hell that little girl would get her ear fucking blown off and then come back a couple hours later to try to wreak havoc again. So there were definitely negatives to this movie, but coming in at number 2 for me was the Purge election year. Now, by process of elimination, that means you guys have gathered that my number 1 is the Purge Anarchy, the second one in the franchise. With this one, I love how, like you said, it does seem like they went focus group on this and they realized, hey, it would be a lot more fun if we could focus on more than one person. So more than one family. So you have all these different people that are out there. Carmelo is like this like Black Panther type guy. And I think he's awesome. One thing I want to talk about here is Papa Rico. He tells the girls that he's just going to go to bed. The purge is coming. But what he really did was for Eva and Callie, he went and he sold himself to be killed to these purgers inside their house because these purgers were too scared to leave. and the money was getting transferred into their account so that they could have a better life. And he was sick anyway. So that's a scene that really meant a lot to me. I thought that was a very powerful scene. Something we've already talked about. Leo is a badass in this movie.
Badass.
He is such a badass. And I love the subway flamethrower dune buggy when they're down there shooting the flamethrowers, driving on those dune buggies. The auction.
This one was just live, dude. Like it was so like zesty. It was so, I don't know, like energetic.
It was. And I love the original idea of the Purge auction, how you have rich people auctioning off these people to be killed. And then, you know, the stranger returns in this one. This is the first time we see him back. And Big Daddy's death scene, obviously, I have that here too. Like that's one that it's powerful to watch. The negatives about this movie for me, Diego the rapist just disgusts me. When he's licking the girl on the face and he's like, "It's my right to purge. I'm gonna unleash the beast." Like, it makes me so sick to my stomach to know there are men in this world like that. The CGI blood, there's a lot of CGI blood in this movie that looks really shitty. And then Shane's death, I was really pulling for him and Liz to get back together, because throughout the whole movie, they're setting it up where they're getting divorced, but they're working their way back together. That just to see him die was such a bummer, such an upsetting scene. So coming in at number one for me, the Purge Anarchy. So we already know what your number one is. Let's hear your reasons for the first Purge being your number one.
I just want to touch upon your talking about Papa Rico for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it was very powerful in concept. You know, like I think it was like a nice idea. But I don't know. Like I definitely feel two ways about it. On one hand, I feel like it was a really like there was definitely like I said, the concept is really like, oh wow, like sacrificing yourself, like that's what a nice way to start off. Like nice way to start off. But on the other hand, it's like, I don't know. I feel like it was just kind of like, okay, like bye. You know, I don't know. Like it just, I don't know. I feel like it was a little bit of a sellout. Like they were really trying to go for like that tugging at the heartstrings thing. But like, that's not why you're watching this movie. You're not watching this movie to cry. Like, I don't know. Whatever. Like that's my.
I wish that they would have showed his death too. Like that's the one negative I have.
Mean.
You know, you string up the plastic and then you get the knives and then it's just done.
but that's what I mean. Like if they had like at least balanced it out. And listen, you know me. Like I'm not like a very like, oh, go get him. Like I'm not really like into that. But at the same time, if they had, all right, if they're gonna have to do the whole dramatic thing, sure. But if they showed it and it really like came to fruition and we saw the whole thing, it's like, okay, it would have balanced it out for me. And then you was done, dead, move on, and you're still at that height. Not that that's me being a total critic. It's really, you know, whatever. But I think it's important to know, honestly. So I like the first. I don't know. I like the first Purge because I'm just such a sucker for like knowing backstories. Like I love that criticize a movie, like, you know, there's obviously like pros and cons to it. There's negatives to it, obviously. Like it's not a perfect movie. But I just think that it's necessary in there. Like it's nice to see where everything starts from. Yeah, I'm just really into that. Wicked and like The Wizard of Oz and all that stuff. Because then you look at every other movie so different. I mean, imagine what every other movie of the Purge series or a franchise or any like movie, you know, franchise in general, what would it be without that first movie, you know, or like the first, you know, and you see the backstory. That I think that's why I picked it to be my first one, you know, even though I don't think it's the most thrilling. I don't think that it's the best created, you know, but it changes it for me. It really, really does change it for me. Yeah, I don't know that maybe that's like a pretty weak explanation, but like I said, even when I started The Purge, you know, like the original one, okay, nice movie, cool, you know, whatever. But then once you see all the rest, you're like, okay, like, all right, you know, better ones, you know. It changes how you look at the movie from there on out. So, yeah, that's my kind of 2 cents on the movie.
Well, and this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you doing this. I want to remind everybody, if you're building a website or if you have any questions about anything like that, please hit her up down here in the description. I have all her links. She does amazing work and she's an amazing friend, amazing person to talk to. Anything you'd like to add before we go?
Oh, I wanted to say one more thing. When you were saying that on election year, how Dawn and Lainey were driving around, and I thought you were gonna say it, but my favorite kill from that one was when that guy hops into the car and they're like whatever, and then he just gets shot, and then I thought you were going there, and I was like, oh, he's going there, but then you take the there. Okay, so not.
I took a hard right there instead.
You really did. He was like all of a sudden here. I'm like, oh man, I love that. That was my favorite one.
Right. I mean, like, I love a lot of the deaths in this movie, but in all the movies, but a lot of them are just bang, bang, shoot, shoot, bang, bang, shoot. You know, that's why when you get something like the chokehold or the dune buggy flamethrower or the guillotine, like when you have that little injection of something different, I think it really sticks out just because of all the other shootings. And actually, I didn't talk about this when I was talking about the Purge and my number 3. I just really disliked the dad's death. Like, listen, if I got stabbed in the stomach by a knife like that, I probably would die too. But when he's the patriarch of the family and really essentially one of the main characters in the movie, I just feel like he's got to get a bigger death than just one stab to the stomach. I feel like that's just not enough for that. So, well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And please make sure you're following Morgan on social media. She does a lot of great work for a lot of great people. I'm so honored to call her a friend and to have had her on the episode. Until next time, Morgan, don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.